episode
Six.
Six.
Is it six already? Wow, that's hard to believe.
Yeah.
Hard to believe. And we are so elated. We are so
Joyful.
exuberantly
overjoyed.
Okay. That we are joined by our first guest of the podcast. So we did not go far. We went to Mama's room. And so we have our mama, Elaine.
No.
Elaine.
Tell everybody how you like your name pronounced, just for the record, so we have it.
Elaine.
Elaine.
Not Elaine.
Not like energy.
My ninth grade algebra teacher called me Elaine.
Okay.
It's not Elaine.
This is why you need
It's
to
not
flip that so we don't have people like that.
Elaine. Yeah, there's some guy in the window.
Yeah.
Just so for all of our listeners out there and for all of our watchers here on YouTube, we are in our new studio finally, so we've kind of got a little bit of a different setup this time. Last time we were in our bedroom, but progress has been made on the house, which we'll get to. So we've got our control room window, so we can have live watchers of the podcast. And so maybe one day we'll sell tickets to this monkey show.
I'm looking forward to that day. Yeah, monkey show.
You can buy
that's
the first
it.
ticket.
Yeah.
But on the thing about guests, Mama's our first guest, and we are going to be working on getting more guests for the podcast, maybe every couple of episodes. So make sure you stay tuned, subscribe everywhere on Facebook, Instagram, because we're going to be announcing some exciting guests very soon.
Right. Just for your information.
We're keeping it a surprise, right?
Yes.
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 You can,
Kind of like,
ourselves.
I know,
Right.
I was going to say, no, this is like when you ask me what's for supper, and I say, it's a surprise.
Right.
And everybody knows.
and
I have no idea what we're having
And then
for
it ends
supper.
up being salmon patty and broccoli.
No,
tonight.
it's not.
Anyway, you can listen to our podcast on pretty much anywhere you get your podcasts.
Yes.
Just for your
It's like you shop
information.
at Whole Foods or Publix. It's wherever you get your goods. Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. So kind of the brief, we're going to be talking about a couple different things this episode. The main gist of it is we're going to be starting a several-part series with Mama and maybe our Papa too about our adoption story, because they have a really unique perspective, being that we were very young when we were adopted, and so they went through the whole process several times. So this would be a good podcast series to share with someone that might be interested in adoption.
Young couples,
or
older couples. We'll talk about that too.
Yes.
But
That'll be coming down the road.
Yeah, this will be kind of about our adoption story. So this will not be the whole story because it's very long, and so I think
this
we'll
will
just
take like
4 or 5 parts probably.
Yeah,
maybe.
But we're
more.
gonna-
How long are these things? How long do you talk on
I
these?
think like 30 minutes, 30, 40
30 minutes. I'd say that's
a good length.
12 episodes. If I'm here once a month, it'll take a year
So
to
we'll
tell
just
this
start
story.
from the beginning of kind of what inspired you or what got you into adopting, and then we'll continue on from there.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then we'll kind of end it out with what's new with us, just for our
Okay.
regular listeners.
Yeah, Mama.
Yeah, we'll
All
see how it
3
goes.
of them.
Yeah. See, I should have brought notes because you know me. I go on these rabbit trails.
Yes. Well, just
And you're going to keep me.
This is like a
You're going to
live
keep me
TV
on
show
the
for him.
path,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Sure.
Christina is not.
Okay, I don't like this guy in the window
No,
over
I don't.
here.
Of course, you go flip the thing so you
Just
can't hear.
don't you have a shade to pull down?
Go somewhere else. We need one of those windows they have in
We're gonna
Yeah.
put curtains over it because, like, when I sing in the studio, I don't like people watching me sing personally.
Yeah, I know.
Playing violin, playing
Yeah,
cello,
that's weird.
fine.
I
Singing
get it
is
now.
a very emotional. Not like I'm weeping, but it's a very emotional experience as far as performing emotions.
It's good to have an audience.
Yes,
But
which
not
is a
somebody
different
staring. It's like,
creepily.
yeah.
Move.
It's kind of weird.
I'm gonna go change
Somebody
it
looking
here.
looking through the window
Should I go
at you.
turn it off so we'll leave? I can go turn it off in there so he can leave.
No, he's got work to do.
I hope so.
Anyway, so
He's
let's.
sitting right over there now.
It's okay.
That's
Well, let's
all
just
right.
start from the very beginning of what. Well, I'll just kind of.
That's a good place to start.
Yes.
What makes us
Very
so
good.
amazing?
I'll
That's
just
what we're
kinda-
going to start with.
I think Victor came to Mama for this episode and said he wanted her on here just so she could talk about her favorite son,
That's exactly
Yeah,
what
that's
he
right.
said to me.
which is me, obviously.
Well,
Well, sometimes.
Oh, Victor's birthday's coming up. It's
Yeah.
Friday.
So it
tomorrow.
is
Oh
my-
no, it's not tomorrow. It's Friday.
Send your birthday wishes to
thetakeitpodcast@gmail.com.
Okay, let's get to the point here.
Okay, yeah, we're
Start
we're all
at the
over
very
the place.
beginning of kind of why you even adopted in the first place.
Why are we here?
Yes.
Are you saying to me, why did you even adopt? Is that the question?
No, the question is what inspired you? Was it?
I will
just a
answer. Okay,
moment?
so the most frequently asked questions are, yes, what made you adopt in the first place? Why did you go to Russia?
Mm-hmm.
And why did you go back?
Yeah.
So, okay, so this really all started one night back in, I think it was around 1993, somewhere around then.
Yeah.
I saw a documentary about Romanian orphans. And I was sitting at home one night when Jeff, my husband, your papa,
Yep.
came home. I was sitting on the ottoman in front of the TV, crying my eyeballs out. And he walked in and he said, "What's wrong?" And the TV was off at this point, and I was really just sitting there sobbing. And he said, and I said, "I just saw this documentary about these kids in Romania, in orphanages." And I just, it just made a lasting impression on me. It was imprinted on my brain because I saw kids in these iron cribs just incessantly rocking back and forth. And they had no caregivers, no food even. It was cold. They didn't have blankets. Just it was horrible conditions. And of course, Jeff didn't see the video, the documentary, so he just was like, honey, it's okay.
Right.
Yeah. And I said, no, really, I think we're going to have to, I want to help one of those kids one day. Somehow I want to help them.
Right.
And so, lo and behold, a couple of weeks later, he comes home from work one night. He had stopped at Wendy's to get a burger. And he said, I saw these posters at Wendy's about older kids who need to be adopted. He said, one day, I think we should do that.
Because just for those of you who don't know, Dave Thomas, the founder of Wendy's, was really big into, and still is.
He was adopted.
Adopted, and they have an adoption foundation now.
Right.
Just so they, I guess they were kind of
promoting that. So that's
yeah.
why he saw the posters. That made an impression on him. So little did we know at that point we could not have children, and so fast forward years later, we decided to adopt, and that. The Romanian thing was always in the back of my mind, just those kids. And
was there a specific point in time where you knew, okay, this is when we are going to adopt, or was it kind of gradual, or was there just at some point like one day it was just like
we just kept thinking, oh no, we're going to have biological kids one day, it'll happen.
So it was a gradual kind of
that was sort of
realization.
gradual. Then it didn't happen, and finally it was like, look, we've either got to have kids somehow or just forget about it.
Right.
We just,
Yeah.
And so, and it would be great if we'll have Papa on soon and he can give his perspective on this. But, we waited. We just kept thinking something would happen.
A lot of praying, I bet.
Yeah. And, but anyway, finally, I was the first one who said, we need to go ahead and do this. We need to adopt.
Right.
And Jeff struggled with, will we love children we adopt as much as we would a biological child?
Right.
And I guess that's when we should ask, do you?
I cannot imagine loving anyone more. In fact, well, I'll get to that in a minute. I will. That's because that's a really important question. I will get to that in a minute. How we actually feel about that. That's part of the story.
Yeah.
Really, it's part of the story.
Breaking news.
And so one thing, and I knew there was no question for me because at that point it's like, I wanted children, and but one day we went out to eat with our pastor who has 3 adopted children.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And I was talking to him about it, and he just looked at me and he said, I hope that if you have biological children, you love them as much as we love our adopted children.
Oh, wow.
Right. And just the way he looked at me, he looked right into my eyes when he said that. And I knew there was no question for me at that point. But anyway, time moved on. And finally, so we discussed it back and forth. And one day we were on our way to church. We had been looking you guys know this story. We had been looking at used SUVs. We were saving our money.
Yeah.
We had this little bitty
Wait, how do we?
car. I know.
I thought you were talking about us.
No, we had saved our money
16 months
enough
old.
to buy a used SUV, and
Wasn't that when the government's like, don't buy SUVs? You're
I
like,
don't know.
Okay,
But
I'll buy an
anyway,
SUV.
we're on our way to church, and all of a sudden, your father looked over at me and he says, "We just need to buy us a kid." He kind of banged on the steering wheel. Sorry about that.
It's
Anyway.
not ringing.
Oh, sorry. It is ringing.
You can
Okay,
hear
wait a
it.
minute. I'll do that again.
No, you don't have to. Just keep going.
Anyway, we're on our way to church one day, and he looked over at me. He said, "Doggone it, we're just going to buy ourselves a kid." Because adoption costs a lot of money.
It really
It's-
does.
it's
And I can
very-
understand how some of you might hear that and want to be offended, but there's nothing to be offended
No,
about.
no,
You go-
no.
It's like you go try paying for plane tickets for you, and then someone you don't even know to come back, and then
Well, yeah. There's
you
just,
staying in a hotel depending on how much time you
Right.
spend, and then
and that does prevent
else.
a lot of people from adopting. They think, "Oh, I could never do it." In fact,
and that's how a lot of older couples, because I think there's an age limit to how old you can be to adopt.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of older couples, financing a younger couple,
for adoption.
Yeah, just
right,
helping in
you
some-
know, with money,
Yeah.
with prayer, with time, whatever.
Yeah,
you
there are
can
lots of
do.
ways to help.
There's lots of ways to help.
yeah, and we'll get into that.
That
but,
can
but anyway,
change a child's life completely, because there are some
Yes.
couples who just
Yes.
can't afford to adopt.
right?
you know.
Who there?
want
It's
to.
not that there aren't enough prospective adoptive parents out there.
Yeah.
There are people who want children, but when you are faced with the financial part of it, it does seem overwhelming, and you think, "I could never do that." In fact, that is one of the things. Before we were seriously considering adopting, a couple at our church was going to adopt from China, and the girl was telling me about it one day, and she said, "It's going to cost $25,000 just to get this little girl, and then the plane tickets, and then there was other expenses and
Court fees and-
They were not a wealthy couple, and they already had kids. And I was thinking, why would you do that? I mean, that's just, and I'm
Right.
being very honest here. I just thought, why?
yeah.
Why would you even consider that? But they were going through with this, even though they didn't have the money. They started the process, and soon after that, she came to me and said, "Wow, you won't believe what happened. My husband just got a bonus from work, totally unexpected,
Yeah.
and it was like huge. And I think it was like the entire $25,000.
Yeah, and the thing
And-
is, you got to think about it. If God wants you to adopt, He's going to
He will-
provide a way
Yes,
for.
yes.
He's going to provide some way, and that
Yes.
doesn't mean that it's not going to require sacrifice.
No,
It's not just it's not just like it's going to all be provided because
but you will be amazed at what
Right.
happens. When He tells you to do anything,
yeah
He's
gonna
going
provide
to
for you.
provide for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Now
so
back
that
to us.
that was another. Well, that was just another seed. That was just all these little things happened along the way. And like I said, we weren't seriously considering it then, but it was soon after that
Yeah.
that on the way to church one morning, Jeff says, "Doggone it, we're just gonna do this. We're
Yeah.
gonna quit talking about it. It's time to do it." And you know how your father is. He's that way.
Yes.
He
we know.
hems and haws for a while, and then when he makes up his mind, you're
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And so I think it was pretty much within a week or two we were at the adoption agency,
Right.
thinking
It takes something to break or something to go wrong for him to kind of snap.
Yeah.
He'll
and he acts.
yeah, and then he acts and he
Quite
acts
quickly.
big, and I
Yes.
like that.
Yeah.
He just bought
Yeah.
himself a tractor for
Yeah.
our farm. He
Yeah.
just took 2 years of our
Yes.
neighbor mowing our yard, and then our neighbor's
Yeah.
like, "I'm quitting."
Yeah.
He's like, "Okay, I'll buy a tractor."
So, well, anyway, that's what happened. But we went to the adoption agency thinking that we were going to adopt a domestic infant.
Yeah.
We had really, the thing was still in the back of my mind about Romania, but that just wasn't, I don't know, we didn't know anyone who had done that.
Right.
Knew this couple who'd been to China. But anyway, so we went in, and lo and behold, the director of the agency starts telling us about Romanian orphans.
Yeah.
How about
So-
That's the documentary you saw was on
Romanian orphans. Yes. So seeds had been planted,
Yeah.
and it took a long time to water those seeds and then for them to grow. And that's so he told us a little bit about it. The more information we got, we looked at each other and we knew at that point that was what we needed to do.
Yeah.
That we
Overseas
needed
was
overseas when we thought we were going to Romania. We left and thought that day we were going to Romania. But 2 weeks later, Romania closed, which is often the case with foreign adoptions.
Yeah, like
They
Russia,
are-
for
yeah.
instance, is closed.
Right,
which was
it's closed
tragic.
now. So they open, they close, things change. They change frequently. So anyway, so we get this call. No, you can't go to Romania. Their adoption program's closed, but we think you might like to go to Russia.
Close enough.
Yeah. It's on the other, they're both on the other side of the world. So but and I remember walking out because we had in our minds that we were going to Romania.
Right.
And I'd seen that documentary, and I remember standing in the parking lot of the agency thinking, wow, I'm scared to go to Russia. Because, at that
Russia.
time you're
Yeah.
thinking about the Cold War. And now, Romania, it's the whole Eastern European thing. But I don't know why, just the word Russia, it kind of scared me. But I thought, well, I'm going. I'm just going.
Yeah.
And anyway, so that started the journey, which ended up being a long one.
Right. How many kids? 7 kids now.
7 kids.
Yep.
Well, I was
5
thinking about
from
though,
Russia.
so that was we started out, we were only going to get one child.
Right.
yeah.
And so I was just thinking about, you two were first, okay?
Yes.
You came at the same time,
Yes.
Victor and
That's-
Gorsha.
yeah.
And the long journey was that I was referring to because
Oh.
it took 2 years.
Yeah.
Took 2 years. It was, and they told us, 6 to 9 months.
Yeah.
Which is a long time anyway, it feels
Well,
like.
that's like a pregnancy, 9 months, but we're thinking
Yeah.
6 to 9 months we'll have a child.
Right.
Didn't
Nay.
happen that way. So, 6
Right.
months, nothing. 9 months, nothing. 18 months,
Nothing?
silence, nothing.
Got it.
It was hard, and it was
Yeah.
not like waiting on a package from
Amazon.
UPS. Yeah,
Well,
it
that
wasn't.
can feel pretty long.
I know it was not like that. So anyway, things happened. But it was good because both of you are here, huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
We were only going to get one.
And that would have been that.
This was one of those things where
Oh, no, tell about waiting, because you had to. What were we waiting on?
Yeah, what was it?
This is my favorite part.
More than
I don't.
born.
It's crazy what we were waiting. I
Yeah.
mean, so I would during all this time, I would see these. We'll tell you what we're waiting on. We'll
Okay.
get to it.
We were waiting
but
on
we
Subway.
would see these things every once in a while. I'd see something on the news about Russia, and I remember seeing this one story. It was a terrible winter there, and it was in.
Imagine that.
Siberia, yeah, in Siberia, and they showed this orphanage, and they said, there was no heat in the orphanage, and all these babies crawling around, and I'm going, I mean, no kidding, there were like 100
Yeah.
in this room, and I'm going, you can't find me a child, really? Look at all those kids. Why can't I have one of them?
Right.
So, like I said, that's not the problem. Is not that there aren't children who need to be adopted, and it's not that there aren't parents
Right.
who want them.
So what is it?
But in this case, they were
It
looking
is
for
bureaucracy,
The government.
politics,
Yep.
I
Communism.
almost said
things.
Stalin.
A
but
lot
I
of
was
things.
Like,
Just-
Stalin's different.
it's the world is
Putin.
not pro-child. Okay, it's
Yeah.
not.
Yes.
Right. Okay, so what were we talking about?
Well,
Give me the
you
number.
were waiting.
waiting.
Let's just say you were waiting on a pair of socks. They were looking for the pair of socks.
Well, no, that's not how it. Okay,
was
that's
a
not
sock.
what. So first of all, we're waiting on one child. Okay, and
Right.
it's just like millions of kids, and they can't get us one. What is going on here? But during that time, it's good that we had to wait because after a little while, I started thinking about it, and I said, honey,
I was thinking about.
why don't we get 2 kids? Are you kidding me? No, because
But
it was
it'd be
like
2 for
we
the
can't
price of
afford
one.
one. I remember this distinctly. We're laying in bed one morning, and I said, honey, it's kind of like going to Kentucky for a loaf of bread. You don't come home with one loaf of bread if you have to drive all the way to Kentucky. You get two.
Two good-looking loaves of
yeah.
bread.
And he's like, and I said, really? See, we'd be saving all the travel expenses. We know because we always wanted a large family.
Yeah.
And I said, really, we'd be saving travel expenses.
Because Papa thinks very in numbers. He thinks very numerically. He was in business, his own business for a while, and now he's in real estate. So if you need to sell your house,
pictures.
If
he thinks
if you
in
need
numbers.
to sell your house in the Nashville area, Jeff Jolly, hands down.
Yeah.
Experienced, trustworthy.
He's great at stuff like this.
He's a great dad.
Yes. But anyway, so little light went on. I mean, you know that look.
Yeah.
And little light went on his head. He said, yeah, that would save a significant amount of money. All that, because it costs a lot to travel to Russia. So anyway, that's how that happened. So he was kind of.
But you were still waiting.
Yeah, we still had to wait. And something else that happened.
Yes, but what were we waiting on?
I'll tell you in a minute. So something
him.
else happened. So at that time, Papa owned a bike shop.
Yeah.
So we're at the bicycle shop one day, and there was a television in there. It was closing time. We had the news on, and there was a story about actually a Romanian boy who lived in the sewers, and this reporter that was doing this documentary had him sitting on the sidewalk, and he said, what do you want to do when you grow up? What do you want to be? What do you want to do? And he says, I want to ride a bicycle. And so Jeff and I are standing there watching this with, all these bikes around us. We're in the bike shop.
Yeah.
And the reporter says, no, I mean, what do you like? No, he said, you want to race bicycles? He said, oh, no, I just want to ride a bicycle one day.
Yeah.
And, there were tears because we were thinking, and Jeff said, 2. We're getting 2. Yeah. We can afford 2
See,
kids.
it always takes that extreme.
It does. And
which is not a bad thing.
No.
At all. I'm not
I mean,
saying
it's
that.
there. God speaks in different ways. And that was that boy spoke to him.
Yeah, it gives you a decisive.
Well, it's just, I think a lot of people just don't know about, if I had not seen that documentary, I would not have seen the need that there was. A lot of people just don't know. They're going about their lives. They don't know about this need.
Yeah.
But there are children here in America who need families. And, but that was just a very poignant moment when it was like, no, I don't want to race bicycles. I just want to ride one day, Mm-hmm. And so anyway, that was just one of those moments. Jeff was very convinced at that time, hey, we can afford another child.
You were just still waiting at this point.
We were waiting. So we tell them now we want two children. And when it didn't matter if it was boy or girl, whatever.
So I didn't know that. You put in an order for another one, kind of. You
really, you have to do that. It's so the way this works is, it's not like,
I need one more boy.
Yeah, just send me a kid.
With a side of fries.
No, first of all, there's a mountain of paperwork.
Oh gosh.
Like
yes.
I'd say phone book.
Mountains.
Oh,
maybe
no.
up to here.
No, mountains of phone books. No, there's stacks and stacks of paperwork, red tape.
Not
We
just
know.
paperwork. There's
Because you saw it
Yeah.
with the other kids that came later. But and background checks, lots of all kinds of things like
Fingerprints.
yes.
that.
That's another
And
story.
this was. I mean, there was
Parenting classes.
Oh, yes.
Which don't really amount to
parenting
much.
classes taught by people who were not parents. In some cases.
Yeah.
In
Yes,
occasion,
one
I believe.
parenting class we taught.
And they already had 5 kids.
We already had 4 at the
4.
time, and the parenting class was being taught by a newly married. She'd been married 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
and
not
it
good.
was. Anyway,
Go figure.
that's a different story. But there were lots of hoops to jump through.
Right.
And
So you put
anyway,
in the order for a new,
and then you're waiting. And so what they do is you tell them, they supposedly are looking at you and matching you with the proper child. But basically, our only criteria was we were hoping for a child under 2.
Right.
So then we asked for 2 children under. I think they said you have to move it up to get 2 siblings. There aren't too many who are a year apart, so we had to move it up to like 2 children under 3 years old. So we waited and waited and waited some more, and
Still frustrated, I'm imagining.
very frustrated because we had never been through this before, and they couldn't really tell us why. I mean,
right.
And like I said, we see things on TV. All these kids, why? And so I can't even really tell you why, except that they only release a certain number of children per year.
And also, God was working.
Oh yeah.
That's the big
time.
thing.
That's
the big thing. So we're really frustrated.
Yeah.
But so I'll move on to after the fact. We
We
get
had
our
to.
2 kids home, which was Victor and Gorsia. We finally get the call that there are 2 children for you, and they send us a videotape. So that's how it worked at that particular time with Russia. You received a VHS tape.
Yeah.
With just a little snippet of what some scene in the orphanage maybe, and scant medical records, and then you have to
Make a decision.
accept or decline. Yes. So we got the videotape in the mail, and it was you 2.
Yep.
I thought it was just Victor that came first, and then his came
Nope.
next. It was
No,
both
we
of them
we
together?
got both of them.
Okay.
I mean, we got both tapes. Yeah,
That's good.
And so and of course we accepted you, and then I'll skip through going to get you. But after we got home, during this time we were doing. I don't know how we got selected for this, but somehow Hallmark.
You can go find this.
No,
All of you out there, go find it if you can.
Somehow Hallmark got our names and decided to do a documentary. They were doing
Like a mini docu-series.
They were doing a series of documentaries on adoption, and they chose us as one of the families they wanted to follow, and so they followed us for many months. But then it was time for their documentary to air, and we were still waiting. And so they thought I think they really gave up, and they thought these guys aren't going to get kids.
Right.
So
Pull the plug.
yeah, so they said, sorry, we have to move on. Well, anyway, after we got home, they found out that that we did, that our adoption was completed, and they wanted to finish the documentary and just put it in their series.
Yeah, put it on the next flight.
Yeah. Yeah, they were actually going to go to Russia with us, but anyway, it didn't happen. So after that aired, the first part of the documentary and bringing you home, we got this letter in the mail one day.
Oh, yeah.
And it was from this couple in Alabama who had seen the documentary. And the lady wrote the letter, and she said she saw the part where, of course, we reenacted this on the documentary where I got the tape, and it said Victor on it. So she saw the part where we reenacted in the documentary where I got the tape in the mail, the VHS tape, and she recognized the handwriting. She said as soon as they focused on that tape, she recognized the handwriting, and it said Khabarovsk, which is where you guys were from. And she knew what was going to be on that tape, and it was Victor.
Vitya.
So what had
You booty.
happened was she and her husband, and this never happened because the way I explained it before is how it happened. You got a tape of the child and said yes or no.
Yeah,
It
and
was
usually I would imagine it's yes because you've been waiting.
Yeah.
And they're a young
Well, and there are
child,
some
they're
people,
just-
sometimes there are extreme medical conditions that maybe
but they're not looking at like, his jawline
no, it's not.
and
No,
being like,
it's
oh,
not
he's
like he has
handsome."
blonde hair. I really wanted somebody with dark.
Brown
It doesn't
hair.
work that way. But anyway, this couple had gotten two. They were adopting one child, and they had gotten 2 tapes, and two separate tapes, two different boys who weren't related. One of them was Victor, and one of them was their son.
To be son.
The son that they chose. So they received 2 videos, 2 separate boys who were not siblings. One of them was Victor. One of them was their son to be, but they had to make a choice of which child to take
betwixt the two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so she said it was just heart-wrenching because, this is a very emotional process. You're waiting on a child. There are children over there who need parents. You have these 2 people in front of you and you think, what happens to the one that I don't choose? So this is exactly what's going through her mind. She said, we just went back and forth. What do we do? And they could not afford 2. That wasn't in their plans. They weren't even approved for 2, and you have to be approved for the number of children. And so they had to make a choice. She finally, after they showed the videotape to their doctor, thank goodness, Victor was being stubborn in the video.
Yeah.
They were trying to stand him up in the crib, and he would not stand up. And he was sitting on one leg. So the doctor said, hey, I don't know if this will make any difference to you, but I think there's something wrong with this boy's leg.
And if you've ever met Victor, you know that
there is nothing wrong.
Ain't nothing wrong with those long legs. They're moving fine. But anyway, they said, we think, he may have a serious medical condition. So that's why they didn't that was kind of the tipping point for them. They just said, okay, we don't know if we could handle a medical condition on top of all this. So they took the other child.
Right.
Yes.
So, but she said, so in this letter she sends me, she said, we worried about little Victor. She said, I cried and cried about him. So finally, when I get this letter saying, you adopted, your son is the boy that we didn't take, and we're so glad that he's in a family who loves him, who loves God. They were Christians. Anyway, and she wanted me to call her. So I called her, and she just cried and said, I would stand
There's a lot of crying.
There is. It's emotional.
Yeah.
It's hard.
It's like having a baby.
Yes.
But much harder on the couple, I'd say.
There are so many unknowns.
Yeah.
Not that there aren't unknowns with pregnancy, but it is pretty much.
It's just
know that within 9 months you're going to have a child.
Something's going to happen.
If it's 2 years and you haven't delivered yet, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
So it's not that way with adoption. But anyway, but when she called me, she said, I used to stand at the sink at night, do dishes, and cry about Victor. What happened to Victor? And they were just so happy that God let them know what happened to Victor.
Yeah.
And so anyway, turns out that all that waiting we did was so that Gorsha could be born.
Yeah.
Because at the time,
important part in my life.
At that time, when that couple received this video of Victor, there was no Gorsha.
No.
So if they had taken Victor,
the best part had not yet come.
The best was yet to come.
The best was yet to come.
Well, if they had taken Victor, you two would have been separated.
Yeah.
Which is, of course, unimaginable to me.
Yeah.
Not the way
Been
God
tragic.
planned it.
Very tragic.
It would have been tragic.
Yeah.
Even though we're a state.
But anyway, it was just all God's timing, all in His plan, all that waiting, all the whining we did about waiting and God, why are you doing this? Why? Well, there's
reasons why.
That's pretty big reason why.
Yeah.
So
I still wait and whine on Gorsha.
Yeah. So shortly after that, I guess, because you were a year old in that video.
Oh.
So
okay.
shortly after that, Gorsha was born.
Yeah.
And
My boy.
yeah. So anyway, and so it's kind of neat too because she sent. I think she still had the video. I can't remember. Somehow we got that video.
Oh,
too,
we still
because
have it.
before we didn't have that. We only had the video of you later, of
Sweet.
when we got the video of you and Gorsha together when we were
Right.
adopting too. So then somehow we got our hands on that video through them. So it's kind of neat because we have an earlier video of you. That's one of the things about adoption too. When you're adopting an older child, a toddler or an older child, we don't have baby pictures of you guys.
Yeah. Well,
Oh,
of
that's
me.
all right.
You know.
Yeah, Gorsha
Kind
was
of.
kind
Well, you were.
I was 16 months.
Gorsha
so I
You
was
were
just-
16 months, but that's, I mean, most people have.
I don't
you know,
think Gorsha was
now-
ever mentally a baby.
Now you've got, yeah, he was about 37 when he got home. He, but most people have,
Kick
you know,
down,
you
down
have
the door. Let me see those taxes.
now you have pictures in the delivery room. You have, you know, your
You have pictures-
1 week old, your 1 month old
you
picture.
have gender reveal pictures.
You have, yeah, and
You have
this is
pictures in the womb.
this is going to help the pro life movement. Now you have in utero pictures.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've got
Ultrasounds.
ultrasound pictures.
3D ultrasounds.
So yeah. So anyway, so
Okay,
that's
well, I
how.
think that's a good place to kind of wrap up.
Yeah.
Before and then,
Oh, well, with you when you enter the stage, yeah.
well, I don't want to prolong it too long on me.
I know.
But I was just saying.
And it is. I'm sorry, but it's a long story. I've left a lot of things
yeah, I was
out
just
that
thinking
happened.
we can kind of talk about the trip next because that's a whole different
Oh
thing.
yeah.
But yeah, that brings us to the sponsor of this segment, which is Legacy Box. If you have some old photos or videos like we do, that we have to go and get digitized, Legacy Box is there. If you use code TAKEIT, you will not get 10% off your order because we are not affiliated.
One day,
But we should
somebody's
do
going to
that.
call one of these companies.
Yeah, and be like, hey, we've got a whole
I'm
room
serious.
full of baked tapes.
Anyway, yeah, we should probably get all our stuff digitized. I was just thinking about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Anyway, we'll do
definitely.
that. Hopefully they haven't fried.
I hope, yeah.
Because I was just thinking you were talking about that tape. So we
Yeah, it's a
probably have that somewhere.
VHS tape, ancient.
I hope they haven't been eaten by something.
They probably
Yeah.
have.
Anyway, Legacy Box or some other company. Anyway, we'll talk to them soon.
Yeah.
But
Well, anyway, that's how. So
How's the house coming?
the rest of the, well, I was going to say, though, the rest of the adoption story, I mean, there's
Much more.
much
tons
more. And we
more.
didn't even
More
get
where
through
that came from.
we didn't even get through the first one. But I am going to say, just because,
You can.
let me give a little synopsis here. So first of all, you guys came home.
That's Victor and
That was
Gorsha.
in 2001. Yeah, Victor and Gorsha came home first in 2001, and we knew when we were there in the orphanage that we were going back, which resulted in 2 years later, Yara and Christina, who's not here. We didn't even mention Christina.
Christina's not here.
She's a little under the weather.
Yeah, she wasn't feeling too good. That's okay.
She doesn't have the Rona. No.
No. Also, we didn't have another mic stand.
I know.
set up, so,
Yeah.
you know, someone's got to go down. Someone's
Yeah.
got to be cut. So usually the sickest.
She
goes
was glad to
first.
go sit on the couch tonight.
Yes.
But anyway, so the next
In our
thing,
new house.
2 years later, was Victor and
Yara.
Victor and Gorsha
Christina.
came first. 2 years later were Yara and Christina.
And they were both
Which-
4.5, 5. Which has
They were
different
5.
impacts on
Five.
people.
Totally different story altogether. But
Yeah.
anyway, and we'll talk about that some too. But they were both 5 when they came home, basically 5. And they were from the same city that you guys were from, though.
Yep.
Khabarovsk,
Right.
Russia.
Which is far, far east Russia. It's
yes,
a long
Moscow.
ways away from.
It's-
Moscow is halfway there.
Yeah, long
Yeah.
ways from Romania. Or
Yeah.
Moscow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, and then, so I'm just going to give the order of our family here. So
Yeah.
next was Yara and Christina. Then it was
Dina.
5-6 years.
Yeah,
5
5 or
years.
6.
Because we were all around 11, 12.
You were
No.
11.
10.
You were
I was-
11.
I was 10.
Anyway,
Yeah.
next was Dima. He was our last one from Russia, and soon after Dima came home, they closed Russia for adoptions. Then
4 years later.
I believe it was 4 years, we went to get Theo and Joseph from
Yes.
China.
Yes.
So and that's just a whole different story.
Yeah.
Oh.
So we're going to be discussing that probably, it may be next week, but just stay tuned. We're going to be posting little clips of this podcast on Instagram and Facebook. So if you have people that you think would find this interesting, please share it with them.
Well, and what I'd really like to do is next week, because we meet people all the time who are interested in adoption, or
Yeah.
they know someone who is going to adopt.
Or
And I
is
really would like to
adopting.
talk about the process a little bit more and about thinking through it. And because it's important, because normally you guys know how I feel about this. I'm thinking podcast. Who wants to listen to what we have to say? What do we have? But I
Yeah.
do think this is one thing
We have
that
to
I
say.
want to say, because
Yes.
yeah, it's like nobody's interested in what I think about anything.
Yeah.
But this is, I want the word to get out on this because it is so important. There are so many children who need homes.
Yes.
So
So take it
yeah,
and share it with people.
Yeah.
Just a little update on the house is pretty much done. We finished sealing all the floors. We're
Yeah.
about to go into inspection mode.
it's our Sepfer house.
Yeah.
We're done.
We
Except
have-
for that little faucet, this little, except for this, except for that.
Yeah.
We've got plumbing left.
A little bit
We
of plumbing
have
left.
We have a sofa in our den. We have 2
Yes.
sofas in the den.
Yes.
I sat on sofa today for the first time.
I
in
woke up this
years.
morning with my espresso or my cappuccino, whatever, on the couch in the sun. Sun, right up to the neck, so it's not in your eyes. It was just amazing. I've been waiting 2 years to do anything remotely.
You
like
guys,
that.
I can't tell you. We have been living in a dark
Barn.
No windows.
The barn is.
And now that we moved
Dark.
all the wood
Like-
in there, it is like a shed. It's so
Yeah,
like,
it's so
nasty.
it's so hard to live in there now.
I will tell you. Yeah, for the last. It's been hard anyway, but
Yes.
you guys are troopers because for the last, I don't know.
2 years.
2 years.
Well, not beyond the 2 years. I mean, but let's see. How long has it been since we haven't had any heat in the barn
For
or
this
AC.
winter. And so,
Heat. We had. I mean,
Well, not
Not really.
not central.
No.
It was
no. Yeah.
no. I mean, we have little heaters.
was still
But
cold
anyway,
at
you
night.
guys
But
are
whatever-
sleeping in the cold,
Yes.
and now you're sleeping basically in a shed because we've moved all the construction things, all the
Stuff.
tools, all the wood.
Wood.
It's
Oh my.
filled in the barn, so you can barely get to your beds now. And
But if you want to hear more about that, I think episode 1 of the podcast kind of goes over that. So listen to that, and that'll give you a little bit more info if you're interested on our
Yeah.
our living conditions.
everybody's probably really tired of hearing about the house.
Yeah,
I
I
know.
know.
I
Well-
am too. We're tired of talking about it, but it's
We're
just
tired
that's
of
our
doing
life.
it.
That's what's been
Yeah.
going on for two and a half years.
Yeah, it's hard to believe.
It-
But if you want to continue to stay updated with what we're doing, again, Facebook, Instagram, Parler, MeWe, all the new and upcomings and old favorites.
Rumble. We on Rumble?
Yes.
Good. Rumble.
indubitably.
But I think that's going to wrap it up this week. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
So long. Later days.
Bye.